This video is going to look at the new data export function in the JCMS. The data export button is up here by the other buttons for running reports and new client. When you click this button, this screen will come up. You're given the option to choose the agency if you have more than one, and then the case type that you want to run. If you only have one program type assigned to your certificate, there will only be one that shows up in this list. I am using our admin agency, and so everything in here are test cases. There's no real information in these reports or screens. There is an option to run all case types. I don't recommend using the all case type function, and I will show you why at the end of this video. But once you've selected the case type or the program type you want to run, you click Request Data Export, and it will show up in the list as pending. When it's ready, you'll see this link highlights over here, and you can click on that and export it to a zip file. From there, we recommend saving the spreadsheets that get downloaded onto your computer so that you can work with them and use them however you need to. Just remember to take precautions with saving this information, as there is protected information such as name and date of birth in these spreadsheets. You can also see that other people within my agency have run reports, but I am not able to click on them. So you're only able to click on the reports that you yourself have run. So this should limit who is seeing what data within the agency. I have already saved one of these. I'm going to be working with the diversion program type in this test system, simply because it has the most profiles in our system. So there'll be more examples for me to use from this program type. So you'll see a number of spreadsheets downloaded. There's the demographic spreadsheets, which is information that's similar across all screens. Your name, race, gender, date of birth, that's in this profile. One, education is grade, school enrollment. Address is address, contact is phone numbers. If there is an alias, that'll be there. And then domestic is the fields like family size, youth employment, information like that. Each program type will have a file that is simply the name of the program type. This is like that first block in the JCMS that has referral information. If you're a program that's entering in information about risk behaviors like high risk environment, those will be under there as well. And then each of the tabs at the bottom of the JCMS screen will have their own separate spreadsheet. All of the information that I just covered and everything moving forward has been put together in a guidebook that you will also have access to, that covers all of this information, but then also includes codes, because when the files download, right, this is that demographic profile for the diversion case that I just opened up. I'll quick note, because of the way my permissions are set as an admin, I don't have access to name and date of birth. On your screens, when you pull up the spreadsheet, this information will be filled in. So it has to do with permission levels, and this is how mine pulls. Okay, back to codebook. So the JCMS on the drop-down fields has codes attached to each one of the options in that drop-down menu. So on the screen, you may see female, male, non-binary, and prefer not to say But on the back end and the way it extracts out, we see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is an excerpt from that code book with the fields that we were looking at. So you can see here it has female, male, non-binary, prefer not to say, and then the number associated with that option. I'd also point out that at the top of each of the tables for the coded variables, you will see this first part right here, which is the way the field is named in the extracted spreadsheet. And then next to it is what it shows as on the JCMS screens. Some of them are fairly self-explanatory, like gender and race. However, that's not the case for all the variables. If you are wanting to put the text or choice information over the code value, you can do this by selecting the column that you want to update, and then do a find and replace, and put in that number and replace it with the text choice, and then replace it, and it will replace just in that column. And then you just keep going to get all the options in, and everything would be to where you can see the options as they are on the screen in the JCMS. Get the last option in here. Okay. You have the option to recode these variables as much as you want or as little as you want. If you're only wanting to know what the gender breakdown of your program is, then you may only need to use this gender ID column in the spreadsheet. If you're looking at other things, you may need to go through and recode additional variables and in the spreadsheet. I'm not going to go into too much detail on what you can do in Excel. The Juvenile Justice Institute has a couple of videos on their website that talk about other functions in Excel and how to run things like pivot tables. I would just point out that from this, with what we just did, if we sort and then scroll down and highlight just all of the female option, all that say female, and come down here and it says 55. Now I know that 55 out of the 78 cases that I have in here, 78 because that first row is the header, were female. So predominantly serving females in this program. The way the data export function is set up, it pulls every case that's been entered into the JCMS across all years that this has been available. So if you're a newer program, you've only been entering data for a year or two, you'll have a year or two's worth of data. If you're a program that has been around for the last 7 or 8 years, you're going to have 7 or 8 years worth of data. Getting to that information, like the referral dates and enrollment dates, you will need to move to a different table. So back under the file, you want to find that one that is just the program name. You can see this one has quite a bit more information in it. There's the dates. Again, there's intake date right here. This will tell you the program that you're looking at, as well as the agency number. So what I wanted to show you on this one is if you're looking for a specific time frame to examine, you'll need the referral date for that. And again, just do a quick sort and it'll put them in either order. You can do, I did oldest to newest, but you could also do newest to oldest and then figure out what time frame you're looking at and either remove the other ones and save it as a different file name so that you're only working with that one particular time frame. The other thing that you could do is highlight that column, go up under filter, get that filter going, and then pick the year that you're looking for, or you can push the little plus sign and get very specific in the years that you're looking for. Because all of the information is exported in multiple spreadsheets, there is a procedure for merging the spreadsheets together, which I will go over in a separate video. This was just to kind of introduce you to the data export function and what the screens look like and how to use the code book. At the beginning of the recording, I did say that we don't recommend using the all export function, and I will show you why now. Okay, so I went into one of the all program extracted out files and pulled up that demographic profile. So again, with the names, race, gender, date of birth. You can see that this has a considerably large number compared to the diversion one we were using, because this has now pulled out the demographic information of, or the demographic profile information of every case that we have entered into our test agency. So if you're an agency who has multiple program types, all of the youth will be dumped into this one spreadsheet. And you can see on my screen that there's no indication of what program type they belong to. So any analysis that I would try to do on this screen or this spreadsheet, you know, the males versus females that were referred, using the date of birth to figure out the general age of the youth being served, that's going to be across all program types. So if you're just wanting to know the gender breakdown of diversion youth served in the last 2 years, this is not going to help you anymore, because this will be the gender breakdown of every youth served in all program types within your agency. The other place where we run into a slight issue with the all program type extract or export is for those of you who've been using the JCMS for several years, you'll recall we had a feature where you could add a case onto a youth's profile. That functionality was removed in January of 2020 because of some data overriding issues. But what that means is prior to that, if you look right here on the screen, you see this, there are 4 profile IDs with that are the same. I know from testing and working in the system, I went back to the JCMS and searched for this client, and there are 2 diversion cases, a truancy case, and an after-school case attached to this same profile. So if I'm using that all case type extract and I try to match this youth to the diversion information or the truancy information in there, it's going to wind up cross-mixing everything. And then you have to try to untangle and sort out which actually goes to which program type. So it is better to just not use that all function. You can if you want, but there are some complications with it. So we are just recommending you pull by program type. There may also be fields that have been added to the JCMS over time or removed over time, which may show what looks like gaps in data. So this field right here in column J, this is the new category that was added this fiscal year in July of 22 to denote whether the youth is of Hispanic or Latino ethnicity. So because these cases have been entered in to the system prior to that field being in there, you'll notice it's mostly blank. Here's a couple down here. Oh, I guess just one. There's also fields that used to be on the screens that are not anymore. You won't be able to find those on the screens when you go and look back at them. Just there'll be data. There's the potential for data to be entered and then not. And so just keep that in mind when you're looking at the spreadsheets. The last thing that I would say on these is there are fields that are the drop downs that will come up in the coded value. And then there are fields that are their text fields. So things that you enter in narrative boxes, or, you know, like on referral source name, like the person who's referring, you can see that will come up as whatever you typed in. The dates are the same way. So there's not going to be coding needed for those narrative fields. So if you're in the code book and you're looking and you know that it skipped over a section of the screen because you're so familiar with the screens, it's because they are narrative fields that don't have codes that go with them. If you have any questions on the data export function, you can contact Aaron or Kevin at the Crime Commission. Thank you.